David Cook with episode number 2 of By the Brook, and we're looking at Psalm 2 today. Psalm 2 verses 1 to 3. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. There are 2 lessons that we can glean from this psalm. The first lesson is that government isn't necessarily our friend. I know some people think, and they have good reason to think, that the government is there to do good, to encourage, to help, and to support people, to punish evil. And really that is the plan of God for government. But more often than not, we find, looking at history, that government leaders, kings, presidents, prime ministers, once they have power, once they have authority, they often take that power and authority and use it for their own selfish gain, for their own selfish purposes. And we see throughout history so many countries, civilizations that rise and fall, and their leaders being absolutely corrupt and taking their people down a very dark path, a path of oppression, path of abuse, path of immorality. And it is less often than not that we find governments being decent, honorable, full of integrity. And so this particular psalm is a great reminder to us that as we look at government as Christians, we need to be a little skeptical. We need to not just take everything that they tell us as gospel. And in a democracy as Christians, we have an added responsibility that God has given to us to hold government to account. So we need to understand as Christians that government is an institution of God, but because government is made up of people who are sinners, there is a tendency for sinners who have power to become corrupt. I think during the last year and a half, during this COVID time, we really see that how many governments and government leaders all over this world have simply gone a little bit crazy, getting drunk on their own power, instituting all kinds of regulations and mandates affecting almost everyone, if not everyone, managing, regulating, and controlling all kinds of aspects of human life. And it is a little out of hand, and in many cases creating more harm than good. So that's the first lesson. We need to understand that government sometimes, and very often, rages against God, His law, and His ways. The second lesson we can glean from Psalm 2 is really a warning for government leaders and people who want to be in positions of leadership in our society. It's a warning that they are not the ultimate authority, that there is one who is higher than this earthly government, and that is God and His anointed, His Christ. Christ is King, and He is the King of kings, the Lord of lords. So everyone has to give account to Christ one day, and the government leaders, those in authority over us, they have an added accountability because of their position. They will be held responsible for their actions, what they do, what they don't do, in how they serve the people under their authority. And so that's the second lesson, is they need to be very aware of their own accountability before God. Anyhow, Psalm 2 is a wonderful psalm, a messianic psalm that gives us some great perspective as Christians living in this world under government, but ultimately under God. Hope you have a great day. God bless.